The views and opinions expressed on this podcast do not reflect that of the UpTogether organization.
I'm Candy Marie.
And I'm Mena Diaz, and welcome to the Moving Up Together podcast.
Let's start with something we can all agree on. People shouldn't be punished for trying to get ahead. If you get a raise or you take on a few extra hours to help yourself and your family to be more financially stable, Mena, I don't believe that you should be penalized for it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That would make sense, but we know that common sense isn't all that common because government systems, policies, rules say otherwise. So for many people who rely on government benefits like SNAP, TANF, housing assistance, and Medicaid, getting ahead can actually set them back.
Exactly. And their benefits can be significantly reduced, even snatched away, which breaks my heart because, they earn a little more money.
Right.
What we're describing is called the benefits cliff. And the families hovering near or just above the federal poverty line, even a 50-cent raise could mean losing critical support.
Right. So that means earning a little more could jeopardize people's abilities to pay rent, afford groceries, or keep health insurance. And we're not talking about the folks who work high paying jobs or who get valuable fringe benefits like retirement account matching or subsidized health insurance. Let me give you guys an example. So, adults earning low incomes who have no children are eligible for Medicaid if their state has expanded eligibility under the Affordable Care Act. But in most of these states, adults need to earn less than $17,226 a year to get coverage. So if there are three people living in their house, the total yearly income would have to be less than $29,974 to qualify for Medicare. So let's just kind of put that in perspective. If you make $30,000, you are no longer able to qualify for like life affecting help that you need. Candy, what person do you know, single person, let alone three, can live off of $30,000 right now? I'm in Atlanta. I say no way. Candy, you're in LA.
Girl, listen, 30,000 doesn't put a dent in any family's life. And that's exactly why this season on the podcast, we're meeting UpTogether members who received money from the Oakland Resilient Families Guaranteed Income Fund. We'll talk about how they use their cash, but we're also learning how deficit-based public policies like the benefits cliff directly impact them. You know why? Because it's important. Because for so many people, the benefits cliff impacts aren't some far-fetched idea. UpTogether surveyed over 16,000 members in 2021. 73% said they get and rely on public benefits.
This means that it's likely that many of these folks are in benefit programs that have cliffs, and it could incentivize them to stay in low paying jobs without proper health care, life insurance, or retirement benefits. Or it could even be discouraging enough for people not to enter the job market at all because without those benefits, I mean, again, I'm gonna get stuck on this 30 grand. 30 grand is nothing, nada. So it's a real issue for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's really sad and it breaks my heart because you're trying to create help, but you're really creating more problems. And like Tiffany McDermott, she's a hardworking mom who lives in Oakland, California. Her family experienced a recent setback when they lost healthcare and food benefits because of stifling benefit rules. Tiffany, we are so excited to welcome you to the Moving Up Together podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me here.
Yes. And, we had a little bit of fun right before we started the show. So we're really excited, for you to bring all your beautiful energy. And I think the best way for us to do that is to find out what is your favorite thing about living in Oakland?
You know what? I don't mind my neighborhood, but I believe it or not, it's my job. I love my job. I work with kids. So I love the energy they bring, whether it's positive or negative. We are there to role model and shape them. So I love my job. That Oakland it's a different vibe here. So I fit in.
Nice. And can you think of a time in your life where, you had someone that helped you out or gave you a piece of advice, or anything like that? Is there like a thank you you would wanna send to somebody that helped you? Because we know you're not a native Oaklander, so you moved up to Oakland. So is there anyone that you would like to say thank you to or just acknowledge?
My first gig with getting into after school or being a part of the education system in a way that was impactful was my mentor in Sacramento. Her name is Jackie Rose. She was the driving pioneer for me wanting to do something besides, like, I have a business degree, but I don't use my business degree in the sense that it's business management. So, she gave me my first volunteer job, and I liked it. It's amazing. She's such an amazing person. Her program was amazing for my kids. I want to thank her so much because she opened my eyes to something that I never even knew that I needed or wanted to do.
Nice.
How dare you decrease this? So I want to hear from you. I want your feedback. Can you walk us through, your experiences and how it was like, for your family and how you guys ended up losing your government benefits? Tell us about that.
Well, let me start off by saying I became a widow 9 years ago. 2015, July 1st was horrible for me. So I know what it's like living, needing those benefits. And they were great. And we decided during the pandemic we needed to move because there was a lot going on in our neighborhood. So we decided to move from Sacramento to Oakland, thinking, you know, come here, transfer your benefits while I'm looking for a job. I should be good. No, not so much. I got a job last year, technically last year. It took me long enough. I found a job. Getting a job was like it was like a slap in the face. It was like we were okay, we were making it when we were, on aid, but it wasn't as we all know, it wasn't enough. But we were making it. I was managing really good. I'm like, my money management skills didn't change, but when you submit all this information, I'm like, I could be one of the millions, I'm sure, that don't tell the truth. I could have been. I
Right.
didn't choose to be. I chose to be honest and tell you, hey, this is what I make. I got a raise. I didn't get a raise. Hey, these are the things going on. I was honest and said, my daughter works. Do you know these people cut me down? First of all, they took our medical. We just got that back. They took it. But now there's restrictions because one of my sons couldn't be on it. So I now paid for healthcare for him out of my check, which there goes money. So,
Right.
it is what it is, but I'm not going to uninsure my kids. Um, and then it's like food, $200 a month. What you going to do with that? I have a family of 6 that includes me. What we doing with $200 a month? $200 a month is one shopping trip on one day. So I'm like, what do you want to feed beans and rice forever? I'm not ungrateful. I'm just saying now I have to use food banks if, I want to make sure that things are in here that I can no longer provide them via $200. I'm like, dude, we go in the store. Like you said, a buggy. We can put 5 items in there. It's $100.
Yeah,
Easy.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
when I asked them, you know, after you go through all that and you sit down and you try to talk to these people, hey, why are you doing that? Or whatever. Why would you reduce? And they're like, well, you make too much. I'm trying to figure out how is it getting ahead the problem? I'm like, aren't you guys teaching us about being self-sufficient? Self-sufficient does not mean before I get my feet all the way in the door and get correct. I've only been on my job a year. I
Right.
just got a different position where I'm making a few bucks more. Few bucks more didn't make a difference. It didn't change them taking the money to start off with. So I'm like, do I not get a reprieve? Do you? Oh no, no. And I'm like, so there's what is it? The October thing that changed. I wasn't part of that. There was nothing that went up for me. So I'm like, I can imagine the other families that, may not, and I don't say this lightly, that may not have my budgeting skills because I did go to school for business management. So I can make a dollar holler, so to speak. But I shouldn't have to. If I'm trying to get ahead and ensure me and my family are good, why not make sure you keep the money there for me to use it until I don't? Don't think I wouldn't ever keep it if I don't need it.
Yeah.
Everybody's not like that, but some of us actually need it. Not like you said, you're in LA. What is $200 gonna do for a family of 6 in Oakland?
Ooh,
Right.
Ground beef is $20. A pack of chicken is $25. I
Right.
buy 2 of those, I'm almost out of the $200. I'm like, a loaf of bread is $4. I mean, let's be real. They have this thing where if you are getting ahead and you get a good job, I don't care, even at this point, if you're working McDonald's, it's a problem. It's a problem. So
100%.
I don't know. It's like you don't want to abuse the system, but honestly, you can see why people don't tell the truth all the time. But I'm like, it doesn't stop me from being who I am. That's just not my character flaw. I'm not gonna not tell you who I am and what I'm doing. But I can see why some people abuse it a little bit because soon as you don't, they take it. It's like they take it and then you're struggling all over again. So what? I need 5 jobs to afford groceries, basically.
Yeah, it's a trap. I feel like it's a trap because Right. As soon as you start making just a few bucks more, it's like, oh, you've like we mentioned earlier, you crossed with the threshold of the minimum or the maximum that you can make in order to receive these benefits. But what's not accounted for is the fact that you are now paying double, if not triple,
Mhm.
without the so it sets you back to the same place you were, and then people are like, "Oh, you just can't get ahead." No, 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 no. I mean, my one question, I'll probably look this up, I probably should have looked this up, was when was the last time that maximum was actually evaluated and accounted for, inflation? You know what I mean?
Think that they do. To be honest, when I always do this. I always look at the stuff when they send it because that's who I am. I actually read things like leases and all. I believe in reading it so you know what you're looking at. So if you decide you need to debunk somebody, you should be educated enough to do it. I didn't understand what your max amounts look versus your minimum amounts because somewhere in the middle, I don't even fall in the middle because I'm like at the lower end of it. I'm like my max for what I make for the amount of kids that I have in here. And I don't even qualify, and when I asked the lady, I was nice, I called her and I said, "Hey, look, I got a question. You upped it, but what does it look like when you're upping it? What are you going based on?" And she goes, "That's what they send her." I was like, "Well, my question is, who do I talk to find out exactly, do they look at the prices that we're paying in stores? Do
Right.
they how much the rent is?" I said, "I don't know what their marginal is. I don't know if it's like 2% raise, 3% raise, 5% raise, whatever they do." I was like, "But it does not coincide with what we actually pay in real life. It doesn't make sense." And she's like, "You're absolutely correct." I said, here's a tidbit that most people don't know. The people that are working the system are part of the system. Like they're on the stuff too. So I'm like, you're working a job, you're on it too, but you're yelling at me because I didn't get my C7, whatever it is, in on time.
Yeah, so it's like they're not setting you up to win. They're setting you up to stay exactly where you are or to do worse than where you are. And what I love about you, just, from reading your story, I love, first of all, kudos to you because girl, to be raising and taking care of and helping out. You have 6 people living in your house. And I understand that your daughter, she has a job, and you have people that are technically have their own sources of income, but it still is not enough. And I understand that your daughter's income was used against you. Let's talk about that.
She was in school, which was funny because she was in school for a little bit online. They didn't count that because they were like, she's not taking enough credits. Okay, totally understand that. But you took the fact that she works a job, which she works at a job with me. So I find that interesting. She ain't making a whole lot of money. And you decided that that was enough to make sure that I don't qualify for cash aid because of her. Fine. I'm cool with that. I work. I can figure that part out. But when you took it down, it's like, well, she works. She should be able to help you pay for food. That didn't quite make that. So the $200 is why I'm on 200 because she works a job. Because she works a job.
Right.
So her going to school doesn't help me. Nothing. I was like, okay, so what's the purpose? Like, why is her trying to work a problem? Oh, well, her money needs to be included in your money. I was like, it's not even the same money as far as I'm concerned. Because she's a young person. At some point, isn't she supposed to save and want to get on her own? How's she gonna save and get on her own? You gotta help me pay bills.
Exactly.
When I brought this to their attention, to me, I think a lot of them don't think about it. They're a little heartless when they're talking to you. I'm like, I'm not pleading my case because there's nothing better to do. I'm giving you factual information. So when you guys sit down these tables and decide 5% is good enough for somebody, 2%, this is what you need to consider. Real life versus, what you guys see as our reality ain't true. You don't walk my shoes, so you don't know that when I'm putting in 40 plus hours a week, it's not because I want to, it's because that money that you took, I don't know, I no longer have. So when I don't have that, I've got to make it up somewhere. So to me, when they say they're trying to help you reach a level of self-sufficiency, I'm not really sure where that goes because self-sufficiency self-sufficiency should be me maintaining my house while my daughter is working to get on her own feet. She
Right.
can't ever get on her own feet if she's steady helping me pay bills. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they think about that.
Yeah. We had a conversation, in one of our past podcasts, where we were talked about how people who work in these offices at the public offices, like housing and stuff like that, they can be a little mean and they can be a little, resistant to you, and it's kind of like, "Hey, you're in a position where people are asking you for help." I know that it might get tiresome sometimes, but you still gotta keep a mind that these people are asking for help, you know what I mean? And the majority of the people I know have been on assistance. I grew up on assistance, and it was an awful experience, and it was. Um, can you tell me Tiffany, like, one example of, like, just something that was really hard for you guys when you lost your health insurance?
They didn't go to the dentist for like 4 months, and their appointments, I had to cancel them because what am I gonna do? I can't pay you out of pocket. 4 of my kids can go to the dentist.
Right.
Then we were scheduled for health things. We had to keep setting them back and changing the appointments, hoping that the stuff would come back. Thank goodness it did, but 4 months without health insurance is crazy. Believe it or not, during that time, my daughter was playing sports. She hurt her hand. Guess what? Ambulance bill, hospital bill, out of my pocket.
Yeah.
So I'm like, here's an extra added bill because you guys took the healthcare. So it's not fun when they take healthcare. I'm like, the food thing I can figure out. They do have food banks, but the healthcare was very scary because I'm like, we can't go to the dentist, we can't go to the doctor unless I want to pay out of pocket. And when she hurt her hand, out of pocket. So I just cleared that bill up. I'm like, you create a bill. Sometimes they create bills by these unnecessary taking back of money when you're supposed to be getting ahead. You now created a bill because now my son is on my insurance at work. I wouldn't have needed insurance at work had I not made a few dollars more. But I'm like, where does so you took the few dollars I was making. That that's basically what it is. If you get ahead, if you get a 50-cent raise, like she said, a dollar raise, you might as well you ain't gonna see it. I don't see it because it's going to my son's health insurance now. Not that I'm complaining in that manner because he does need, but now that money that I'm giving him every other week for health insurance is I could have been putting that on groceries. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know where they get off with hey, we can take it. It's not a big deal. You'll make it up somewhere else. But then as soon as you make it up somewhere else and you go to submit that C7, oh, you're making too much again. Or you put in a couple extra hours. Oh, now this time you don't qualify. Let's see you again in 6 months and see how that works out. What?
Yeah. Wild.
Listen, people, how can we get ahead if we're still drowning? Oh my goodness. I have to say this. The federal poverty line. Like I'm like caught up over here because when I just read this, I'm like, wait, hold on. The federal poverty line for a family of 6. I have to say this out loud. It's $41,960.
I feel like I'm below the family poverty line because I'm like, we live comfortably. Don't get it twisted. We live comfortably, but that's because I make things happen and I make sacrifices. I might sacrifice me getting a new something new that I need, a new pair of shoes for myself because my son needs a pair. Or there's always the bottom line poverty, or I don't care who you are, if you're single, if you have 6 kids, if you have no kids, there's always a poverty line because things in real life are expensive. Inflation is real. People don't realize that inflation is killing everybody, kids or no kids. But for me, it's a double whammy because it's like my daughter's in here. She gives me half the rent. She gives me money for this. She's helping me buy groceries. But what is it doing to her savings? What is that making it look like for her? It's like the struggle's always continuing. The point of me working and getting ahead is so we don't have to struggle as much. I'm like, we're no longer living, we're struggling again. And I was like, isn't that the point of, aid, SNAP, DFC, housing? Isn't that supposed to help you get ahead? It doesn't help you get ahead if at the end of the day, you are 10 times falling back versus 2 steps ahead. Like what? I don't understand. Like, why is it that
And real quick, Tiffany, sorry, not to interrupt you, but when they take your benefits away, it's immediate. It's not even like you have a 6-month grace period, right?
it's immediate? They'll tell you something that's due by the 5th. You'll turn it in on the 1st. By the 5th, when stuff don't roll around, oh, we took it. It didn't happen. And you don't necessarily always get a letter right away to tell you it's been taken. It might be a week later, or you have to call. What kills me, you have to call and harass them to find out that you don't qualify no more. Why am I harassing you? You could have just simply, just like you could call me and tell me I didn't do something, I didn't turn it in. Why couldn't you give me a courtesy call and say I didn't make it? I've got to fight you and stuff when bills are past due to find out that I didn't even qualify this month. That time that I'm harassing you, I could have been somewhere trying to make up the month. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, well, boss, give me a couple extra hours. Hey, I'm not going to have something this month. Can you? No, they wait till you have absolutely exhausted calling them 50 times or emailing them or texting or whatever you got to do before you find out that it was immediately taken. So here it is. It's the 5th of the month. I'm just finding out on the 8th of the month that you've taken my benefits for the 5th of the month. So now I've got to make up these 8 days that have went by that I don't have money.
Mhm.
But then soon as you do that, don't forget on the flip side of that, when you turn in the next thing to reapply in 30 days, because you have to take 30 days before you can reapply. So when you reapply in 30 days, they go back and look at that same little extra money that you got, that the reason why you had to do is because you got denied. So then there's that iffy little, oh, you have to go and explain, hey, somebody signed this. This is not normally what I would have got. Do you know how many steps you have to take to tell welfare, hey, I don't normally get that? For them to tell you, oh, will you qualify again in the next 30 days? So now I'm 60 days in a hole? What?
Where is the grace for the people? Where is the grace for the people? You know, you're talking to people, one, that don't even like their jobs. They're making you feel bad. First of all, it takes a lot for you to have to swallow your pride to, one, ask for help, right? And then the system makes you feel terrible for asking for help. Don't, oh, you can't make a mistake. Your finances have to be top tier. Listen, I'm just trying to breathe. Literally, so many of us are literally just trying to breathe. But that is exactly why we have such phenomenal organizations that are trying to stand in the gap of what the system and the government is not doing. And one of those great organizations is Up Together, you know, and we're so thankful for this amazing podcast. Big shout out to Up Together for everything that they're doing.
Yeah, and Up Together, the nonprofit behind this podcast, wants to get rid of the rules that punish people who receive government benefits for improving, or just trying to get a leg up in life. So, Tiffany, let me ask you this. How did the $500 monthly cash investment from the Oakland Resilient Families Fund help you and your family when you guys actually lost all of the health benefits?
You know what? It kept the bills rolling as far as that, but it gave me a sense of I am good for bills, but still need healthcare. It's like it bridged the gap, so I didn't have to necessarily wait on income in all other different manners. It did help in that aspect. So I won't say Up Together was amazing. That money helped me keep the bills, the lights on. I stayed up, and eventually, it gave me a sense of hope when I didn't seem to have any. It's like when you're fighting against the system and you don't have anywhere to turn, and Up Together came. What's funny is someone actually referred me to Up Together. And mind you, I hadn't told anybody I was struggling, but I think somebody felt it on their heart. They're just like, she gets up, she's coming in, she's doing what she needs to do, but she's out here looking for a job. Like at the time I was looking for a job. So it was like when Up Together hit me, I was like, amazing. You filled in the gap while I'm trying to find a job. And I was grateful that whoever you know, referred me, they thought about me. They saw me out here trying to make a change for myself and for my kids. So that money was amazing. It kept my lights on, it kept my water on, it kept my kids with like some of the simple things. Like I was able to, because of Up Together, I was able to get my first little car out here, my little bucket. So, I was able to drive around, get the things that I needed, do the things for my kids, give them a little hope, even when it seemed like it was bleak. So Up Together is amazing. So I hope Up Together and those that need to stand behind them can help unite, and we fight this system that's supposed to be here for us. It's the oppression. I'm not understanding. Like you're oppressing the people that are trying to get ahead. That doesn't make sense to me.
Right. And keyword when you said you spent that money on simple things, the simplicity of everyday, a car, food, maybe even a little extra for a movie night.
Like the little things that my kids were used to when we were in Sacramento, we got to do that here. Like I'd be able to take them to movies. They could get a few extra snacks, like things that they would have missed without that money. So, right now they're not seeing, like there's a lot of movies coming out that they want to see. That used to be our pastime, going to movies. Not really sure how that's looking. Because Christmas is coming up, birthdays are coming up. I gotta make a choice because thanks to good old Uncle Sam, we don't get the things that we were getting before. And I was like, they were helping. They weren't a hindrance. We weren't splurging on Gucci and all this stuff. I was excited to get a pair of $30 shoes. You guys, I got a pair of $30 brand name shoes. They're Pumas. I was excited.
Girl,
They got the nice little insole and they're everything. I was excited for that. And I'm like, you kids are running around at 200. I got, not my kids, but other people's kids are running $100 shoes. And I'm like, your parents ain't struggling like
Yeah.
like me. Or they are, but they still feel like brand name is the way to go. And my kid has to, I'm just being honest with me. I'm going to look how the best I can with the budget that I have. My kids are looking the best that they can with the budget that we have. We are not trying to outdo anybody. We're not trying to make them seem like being on the system is to be on the system so you can just flash things. We can't flash. We are struggling. We are trying to eat every day. We are trying to get around every day. We are trying to get to work, school, sports. My kids do all that. Guess whose pocket that comes out of? Mine. Government ain't helping me. They're not helping me. They decided to take my funds, which would have still helped my kids. It's not like I was going to take it and, like I said, go Gucci or Dolce Gabbana or whatever them people call. I don't do all that. That's not me. I see it on other people. I think it'd be cute, but it ain't me. It ain't never been me. So I'm just like, what? Like, you're not trying to help me keep the basic necessities for my kids?
Right.
Girl, you know, we talked earlier. We were like, we love a sale.
Like, I get excited. Do you hear me?
Out of season, but that $30 is the best $30 I spent on myself in a long time.
Listen, Tiffany, can I just say that you are so relatable? Like, you are so relatable. And I was talking to a friend of mine last night about survival mode, right? And you're literally doing the best that you can to give your kids and your family a little more than the generation that came before you gave to you, right? I am literally, like, right now, currently in my life, I am trying to break the cycle of survival mode. I am tired of living in survival mode. And to be honest, I'm frustrated because I don't have the answers. I really don't have any idea. The only thing that is keeping me afloat right now is the Lord. Do you hear me? Praying. And I think that kind of also takes me into my next point. In our first season, we met a phenomenal UpTogether member by the name of Christina from San Antonio, Texas. And she lives with a life-threatening health condition, and she gets Medicare benefits. So we're going to take the time right now to listen to her experience with the benefits cliff.
Don't sit here and put a limit on me when I'm physically limited. I know that it was very hard to accept the fact that I was going to be disabled at 31 years old. That already hurt me. That already was heartbreaking for me.
Right.
And now I've got to juggle with I can't work this many hours. I can't take my kids out to eat. I can't buy them extra stuff because I'm struggling to pay for my medication, or I'm not allowed to work certain amount of hours. Let me work. Let me at least try to provide for my family.
Christina's story, she shows how limiting the system can be for people. You can hear it in her voice. You can feel it. You can literally feel it. And some people argue that cutting or reducing benefits as a person makes financial progress, which is what you just spoke about, Tiffany. It pushes them towards independence. What do you have to say to that?
I like Christina's story because she's telling the truth. It's like you're punished for trying to work and make sure that you make the ends that you need to make. And for her, that's heart-wrenching to me because, she's suffering a loss in a physical form every day. Me and my family suffered one with my husband being gone. He was also part of our income. So, I get it when she says, you're sitting here telling us, don't work more than these many hours to help. It's like, do you listen to the system or do you not listen to the system? Because in order to get ahead, you're not going to get ahead if you decide you're not going to work those extra hours. And they're going to give you what, 5, 6, 700, maybe 1,000 max a month when you could have made that the same week just working. I mean, yeah, you pay taxes on it, but you see it. That once a month thing it's kind of, it it's a help when you need it, but when they take it, you feel it.
Yeah.
I feel like there has to be some kind of grace period for people. Like, if you really want people to get back on their feet, there has to be some kind of grace period of, okay, you just got this bump in a raise, whether it be, through whether you're a contractor or a full-time employee, and you just got, like, we'll just say you got health benefits. Just because you just got health benefits, you just got this bump raise, doesn't mean that you still don't need food stamps. I mean, you think about it, like, people don't have an emergency fund. So something as small as and this isn't small for most people, but $1,000 to fix your car in order for you to get to work, people don't have that. You know what I mean? Like, you have no savings because you're just coming out of being able, getting or just getting into a job that at least gives you some kind of stability as far as your either, your food or your bills or your health insurance. Um, so why do you think that is, that we can't even get a grace again? And maybe this is something we have to go back and review as far as the thresholds are concerned. Because again, I'm harping on this $30,000 a year for a family of 3. What? Where? How?
I don't know. I think like you just said, what is the solution to it? I don't know. You can write your local councilman or councilwoman. I think there's so many things we do that just I don't know how they make the change though. Because we can sit there and do all these things to bring it to the forefront because
Right.
we aren't the first people in this podcast to think this or to handle this or to do this. Because every board you could think that I could be on to complain about something. And I said it, complain, because there are people that need real help in real life. Like the complaint is, what is the solution to a mother of myself, a mother of 5? You took my cash aid. But as soon as I work too many hours to ensure that the bills are paid, because now the cash aid's gone, and I'm trying to make up for the fact that you're only giving me $200 in food stamps, I am penalized. Why is there a penalty for trying to do what you're supposed to do? I don't understand that part. And it's like she said, I'm tired of being in the struggle. But how do you change it when we're not the people that have the mindset to understand that there is a struggle? We're living it. But the people that are councilmen and the government, they don't understand. What happens if it's their family? Do they care? I don't know. Do you want to change it because it's your family? What happens? I tell people every day, we're all one bad decision from being homeless. It takes one split second for us to make the wrong decision, and everybody can be homeless. So, how do you fix that? So, everybody's mentality is we need to not struggle so much. I don't know.
You know what? I think you just gave us some free game. All right. Like that's it. You know, we were about to introduce our segment, but you literally said it in a nutshell. Free game is basically sending a message, and you said councilmen, you know, to our government officials, lawmakers about, you know, changes that need to be made to make a difference. And I think that you said it. So again, Tiffany, we want to thank you so much. This was a great show, girl. You gave us nuggets on nuggets on nuggets and powerful.
I'm always up to give somebody some information that somebody might not have known, because when you live it, it looks different versus somebody that's trying to. And I think that's another problem with those that are in power. For some of them, they forgot where they've come from. Let's call it what it is. They forget that, hey, when I was in the system. Okay, well, let's do you one better than that. What about the people that have never been in the system? You were born with a silver spoon in your mouth. You're the ones that are council people. You're in the government. You can't relate, so it doesn't matter. When you've never lived it, you can't relate. So when you can't relate, it looks like we're always just complaining instead of coming up with solutions. Why don't you help us resolve something that you don't ever want to experience? Ooh, there's one. You don't want to experience, help us resolve it so you don't have to.
But when you can't relate, therefore you speak from a place of no relation. Exactly. Exactly. They've never been there. So again, if you're listening, we're talking to you, we're calling you out. This is some free game. This is the show, Minna.
Yeah. Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for your insight, and just thank you for just having a real conversation with us. We appreciate that.
And again, guys, we want to thank you all for listening to the Moving Up Together podcast. This is a show where we want you to think, feel, and do, and take in the things that we are saying, because together we can literally bring the world together and move up together. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Moving Up Together was created by the national nonprofit UpTogether and produced by Creative Differences. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.